Plus, your trade is worth more. Shop local and save more with straightforward pricing, plus exceptional service and selection. Your search ends at the Motor Mile. Choose from over 900 quality pre-owned vehicles, plus a massive selection of new car brands in Southwest Virginia. Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, Subaru, Kia, Chevrolet, Mitsubishi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and now Buick. Plus the used car superstore. 12 new car brands, 900 used vehicles. One amazing buying experience. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got more than any other dealer in the area. The Sheeler Motor Mile delivers choices. Here's the difference. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile with a certified friendly staff and no games, no gimmicks. The Sheeler Motor Mile, now in Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Hi, I'm Chuck from Aquatrack Adventures in Salem. The Virginia Talk Radio Network and InsaneRadioDeals.com have helped our company grow by sharing our company's message throughout Central and Southside Virginia. The gift cards and experiences sold on InsaneRadioDeals.com have brought us many new customers. If you're a business that wants to grow with a message that resonates and gets results, I highly recommend InsaneRadioDeals.com and the Virginia Talk Radio Network. Simply put, it works.
Tedeschi Trucks Band, My Morning Jacket, on the rise performers like Jacuzzi and Stone Throwers. Plus, local love from Blue Mule and Virginia Electric. The blend of superstar bands, fan favorites, rising stars, and local favorites are performing at Floyd Fest 26 Daydream, July 22nd through 26th at Festival Park in Floyd. Enjoy music, mountains, and magic at Floyd Fest 26 Daydream. Get your tickets now at floydfest.com.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
What is the fastest way for us to start recognizing a sport here in the Fast Lane and on VTRN Sports? It might be a little bit of a trick question here. Think about it for a second. We might have even tipped it off earlier this week in the Fast Lane.
And guess what? We keep receipts.
Fast Lane, Ed Lane, wherever you listen to podcasts. The answer is put the sport in the spring or summer when it's not competing with football season or through March Madness, because that's when you can get more attention on other sports. Lacrosse. We'll talk some of that in the next couple of weeks, leading into VTRN Sports coverage of the Final Four, which is actually taking place in Charlottesville. UVA just underway against Notre Dame right now to start the ACC men's lacrosse tournament. Syracuse and Carolina, the other matchup for that later this evening. We don't carry ACC, just NCAA Final Four. Baseball, softball, College World Series, VTRN Sports, your home for it. All of those would not normally be getting attention. Like soccer's in the same boat to me as the others. They put college soccer in the fall. College wrestling's in the winter. We touch on it occasionally, but it gets dwarfed by the other sports that suck up more of the oxygen. And newsflash, we have an hour here in the Fast Lane, and that's not likely to change anytime soon. So we have to be judicious with our time, whereas we can shed light on other sports at other times. And I'm not including high school in this. We broaden our coverage on high school sports because we're trying to get as much light as possible on different high school athletes and what their accomplishments are. Why in the world we're bringing that up today in the Fast Lane is we're not going to talk a lot of running all the time. But there may have been the three most impressive accomplishments athletically that have occurred in the last week. Okay, I get it. NBA Finals, NHL playoffs going on. Yesterday, I mentioned how they have been captivating, and then I have to immediately do a mea culpa from last night's NBA Eastern Conference first-round clinching game down in the ATL. More on that in a moment. But if we're talking about impressive athletic feats, I am going to butcher the names when I pronounce it, even though we are about to share with you what we mean.
Just about him into the home straight. He's got over a minute or just under a minute to do this. He can do it. Come on, Sebastian. You can get this. History in the making. Under 2 hours. Nobody has ever done this. They said it couldn't be done. Sebastian Sawe is going to break the 2-hour mark. He's going to win the London Marathon in incredible style. An historic performance, 1:59.30. Absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like that. What a finish. That you would say is unbelievable, but we've just seen it. And Kejelcha was probably under 2 hours as well. Paul is just confirming to me in second place. There he is. The two men.
That is the BBC's call of the London Marathon this past Sunday. Sebastian Sawe, 1:59.30 record marathon. There's a whole shoot discussion on this that we'll also get to in a bit of a separate piece. And then there are actually a couple of other things that have happened in the running world that are worth mentioning, and we'll try to get to that next week in the Fastlane. But just the impressive athletic accomplishment for that particular time. Sebastian Sawe, 1:59.30, broke the marathon barrier of 2 hours to run a marathon. And he did it in a marathon. There was one that was done a couple of years ago, same thing, under 2 hours, but he had pacers, he had other people around, and yes, to get my usher on for a second here in the fast lane. I've run marathons before and may or may not have had pacers, but nobody really cares because, as great as it is to be a decent marathon runner, myself and frankly, all of my friends, many of whom can get close to the 2:30 mark to run a marathon, or certainly around 2:45, 2:50. I've got others in that category. We're not on the radar of running accomplishments. Like, as hard as all those times are, and as well earned as they are for my friends who have accomplished those type of times in running, nothing's on the radar except when you're breaking the records and at the top of the game. And Sebastian Sawe of Kenya, 1:59.30. So a couple of things to note about this. One of them is this. First of all, I'm butchering names today. Just get over yourself if you're a running aficionado and I'm mispronouncing the names. Look, I love running as much as the next guy, but I don't watch it regularly. There's too much other stuff. When I'm watching sports, generally it's work-related. And I just mentioned at the beginning of the Fast Lane, as much as I personally love running, it's further down the totem pole than a lot of other sports in terms of what we discuss. But how bad do you have to feel for Yomif Kehela? Is that it? Kejelcha, also Kenyan. That guy ran it in 1:59.41. That is the second fastest marathon time on record in a legitimate marathon, London Marathon. And nobody's even talking about this dude because he finished in second to the world record holder. Like, it just so happens that the time that this guy gets his moment in the spotlight, he's one-upped by somebody else, which is insane. It really is from an accomplishment standpoint. And by the way, just quick shout out. There's this guy named, again, butcher pronunciation of names here, Vinny Maury, M-A-U-R-I, fastest American marathon debut, under 2 hours and 6 minutes, 2:05.54 in the Glass City Marathon. I'm going to presume that's in Toledo. I know their football stadium is known as the Glass Bowl, so we're going to do a little deductive reasoning on that in the fast lane. Nobody's even talking about that guy. Did the same thing on Sunday. Nobody's even talking about him, especially in a mainstream world, because all of this occurred while one guy had the record on Sunday, 1:59.30. So just to put all this into context, by the way, here in the fast lane, take your treadmill. If you've got one at home, if you've got one at your favorite gym, next time you're around on one, if you're staying at some kind of hotel and they've got a treadmill in there, jack it up to 12.0. See how long you last. By the way, for the record, to get my usher on, I've gotten to 12.0. I've even gotten to in the 13s before. It has not lasted that long. Just, again, for a little bit of context. And I can only imagine the reaction from other people as I'm literally pounding away on the treadmill and just praying to God that I'm not about to destroy equipment and get charged with unintentional vandalism, if you can even charge somebody for that. That's not fast enough. 13.0 still isn't fast enough on your treadmill to eclipse what these people did. And they held that pace for under 4 hours, or under a 4.5 minute pace for the entire time. Like, all right, I have run some sub 5-minute miles in my tenure in life. Some of them may have been in the Blue Ridge Marathon going down the hill, where again, you can call it cheating because it's basically going down the Mill Mountain crest, if you will. So again, read into that what you will. I had to get help with gravity to accomplish this feat. May or may not have done it a couple of other times by clinging for dear life on a track. Now imagine just doing that the whole time. And here's the most discouraging thing, by the way. What like really is the most discouraging? If you've run the 10-miler around here, or if you've run some of the other big races anywhere, how often you see like the Kenyans and the Ethiopians? I'll flash back for Liberty Flames fans because we got plenty of them in our audience. Sam Chalenga. I know some people that ran against him in college. The people that ran against Sam Chalenga, by normal American standards, they are really fast people. By Sam Chalenga's standards, couldn't hold a candle to the guy. And he ran for Liberty, arguably the most gifted individual athlete in Liberty history. He'll probably hold that now because all the best athletes in the most prominent sports will just get bought up by bigger programs. That's a different topic for a different time. But Sam Chalenga, when he ran, rumor was his feet were so soft hitting the ground, the track, the asphalt, the trail, the concrete, whatever the surface was, that you could hardly even hear them. Like, yo, when I run that fast or just regularly, like, oh my, dude, TJ, you could hear me from a mile away. It's like a train coming. I'm not going as fast as a train, of course, but it sounds like it. Like, you're definitely hearing me. Like, I am, all the force of my body is literally getting transferred into the ground, and somehow I am surviving that. That's what's so impressive. And these runners, they look like they weren't even breaking a sweat. Like, you watch the 10-miler and then watch the people that finish near the front, and it looks like they're just getting ready to go back to their car and, get another jog in. Go get a cup of coffee somewhere. I mean, first of all, it is impressive in all seriousness, but it's also kind of discouraging for those of us that are literally out there in any given race. Like, I get to the finish line and, like, dude, I need help getting up. Like, I need people to make sure I'm okay. This is a regular thing. God has blessed me to get through it. But that's to contextualize what we saw, and it's worth bringing that up.
Yeah, not to toot my own horn, I used to be a runner. Not at that fast, obviously, but
you could not run a 4.5-minute mile for 26 miles.
I don't think I could do that pace. My mile in high school was 5:50.
Okay,
so
that's solid.
But and then in 5Ks in cross country, I was around 19-20 minutes.
Yeah,
so I'm not
dude,
that fast.
Dude, those are respectable. I mean, if you ever get back into it, it's possible. There's a guy around here named Tyler, fantastic runner, ran about 2:50 in the Boston Marathon. If I'm getting his time right, and he's listening live or fast lane, Ed Lane on the podcast, because
and guess what? We keep receipts.
Then, please forgive me for getting the time incorrectly. That guy's got an incredible story. He has lost a ton of weight to get to where he is running. He just decided, hey, I want to see if I can run a mile. And then it's obviously, the bug bit him and he's blossomed into a really good runner. Right. Great runner by our area standards. Really good by just normal American standards. Still fantastic story. Like, so it's possible that people can do that. Now, he's in his 30s. He's dedicated himself to it. I think, when you start getting in your 40s and 50s, it's going to be harder, but it's not impossible. But all of us, we can't hold a candle to some of this. I got one more running story, by the way. I got a friend of mine who ran track and field at Virginia Tech and ran against LaShawn Merritt in high school.
Oh, God.
I asked him, I said, did you ever beat LaShawn Merritt? No. And I did not actually utter the word, but you can imagine that's what the response was. Like, you get around these superhuman type runners and you realize you can put a ton of effort into it. So do they, and God gave them something you didn't. And like, there is a genetic reality to that into sports in general. And by the way, we'll talk some Faith Fridays with Lake Lewis in just a bit here in the fast lane. He's going to join us, not the sports side of stuff as much. Yeah. He does that in the morning warm-ups, Tuesday mornings, 7 to 8 a.m., VTR and Sports app at 93.3 FM with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy. But, we'll talk the faith stuff. But one of the best quotes that I've ever gotten just about sports in general, for all the parents out there who have this idea of, well, my kid just got a chance, he or she could be a Division I athlete or could have gone pro. No. Pump the brakes on that. Like, all right, line up for a race. See how hard your kid can run, and then go run the 10-miler and see if they can keep up with the Kenyans. If they can, they might have a chance. If not, welcome to the rest of America. You might run in college, but that's a different deal. Same thing in football. Go back and look at Gideon Davidson's highlights at LCA as your example. Then go ask yourself, could my child do that? If the answer is yes, you might have Division I and professional hope. If your answer is realistic, which is probably going to be no, then you need to recalibrate your expectations. And that's just, it is. Because Robert Prunty, who used to be the postgraduate football coach down at the military prep school that's about an hour south of us, they're not a sponsor of ours, but they're between Gretna and Danville, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Tigers may be their mascot, and they have a high school department as well. He was the postgraduate football coach there. I went to a signing day. This was back when Bobby Massey, who played at LCA, then went to said postgraduate football program, and then went on to Ole Miss and had a good career in the NFL. And Prunty's comment was, look, these guys are here at signing day. They had a couple guys at Ole Miss, a couple guys at Carolina, maybe some others. Prunty's comment was, these guys are here because of hard work. They worked hard to get their grades up, to get their test scores up, to make sure they can improve as football players. And they've even worked hard to improve their character and their maturity in their decision-making. And then he paused. And he goes, but let's be honest here. These guys are also here because God gave them something that 99% of the population just was not blessed with. Right. And that's a big part of the reason. And that is what the differentiator is in all of this. And I don't have a problem bringing that up. We're not bashful about our faith here in the fast lane. We are not, standing on the corner trying to, shout warning signs and, hold up stuff like that. Everybody expresses it differently. I get it. But, we're not opposed to doing that. So we wanted to bring that in. We will get more on that, by the way, when we return to the fast lane. Lake Lewis, founder of SportsJourney.com, respected NFL reporter for ESPN, covers the NFL, Commanders Insider, will join us next in the fast lane. More to discuss the role of his Christian faith in his journey and his concurrent journey of his wife, who is the in-stadium voice for the Washington Commanders. And maybe we can get him to advocate that our song
those haters can't stand us. Left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders.
Gets played at the stadium. So all of that's still to come. This is the Fast Lane on the VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports.
Here we grow again at the Sheeler Motor Mile. It's here, the all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. More brands, more selection, and the same exceptional service you expect from a trusted community partner. Whether you're shopping Chevrolet or Buick, you'll find quality, value, and a team that puts you first. From rugged trucks and SUVs to stylish cars and family-friendly vehicles, the Motor Mile has something for everyone. With straightforward pricing and top dollar for your trade, there's no better place to buy. Bring us your trade, new or older, paid off or not, and see why your car is worth more on the Motor Mile. Plus, with more inventory arriving daily, now is the time to shop the Motor Mile. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Experience the Motor Mile at 3 convenient locations: Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. For over 50 years, we've got Southwest Virginia covered. The all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. Certified friendly staff. No games, no gimmicks. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at MotorMileChevroletBuick.com.
Summer, hot, steamy. 3 ingredients for an overheated truck. Overheated trucks is an all too often summer problem for diesel trucks. Don't let it happen to you. Go Wicked. Get your diesel truck service for less at Wicked Diesel in Bedford. Wicked Diesel is offering 20% off AC and cooling system repairs, plus oil change and tire rotation for 20% off. Go to wickeddieselva.com and print out the coupon. Go Wicked. Wicked Diesel, Bedford, Virginia.
Hi, Gary the Third here, and I'm excited to say spring has arrived at Gary's Garden Center with great plants and a great selection. Gary's has seasonal color flowers along with vegetables, 60-plus varieties of herbs, perennial flowers, and much more. With friendly service and great advice, we are always happy to answer your questions. Visit Gary's Garden Center at 794 Leesville Road for all your lawn and garden needs. Stop by, say hi, and take a look around.
Midday hunger hitting you hard? Swing by Macadoo's for our $8.95 weekday lunch specials. Whether you're craving a classic crunch or something fresh, we've got you covered. Chicken tender basket featuring crispy golden tenders served with fries. The Macadoo's Chef Salad, a healthy, loaded favorite that will hit the spot. Hit back against your lunchtime hunger at Macadoo's with eats that won't break the bank.
Time to share great food and fun. Just to be there the only one. Just to be there at Macadoo's.
We'll see you at the Do's.
Tedeschi Trucks Band, My Morning Jacket, on the rise performers like Jacuzzi and Stone Throwers. Plus, local love from Blue Mule and Virginia Electric. The blend of superstar bands, fan favorites, rising stars, and local favorites are performing at Floyd Fest 26 Daydream, July 22nd through 26th at Festival Park in Floyd. Enjoy music, mountains, and magic at Floyd Fest 26 Daydream. Get your tickets now at floydfest.com.
Do you want to experience the benefit of radio and digital advertising for your business, but have no or limited funds to advertise? Let us tell you about InsaneRadioDeals.com. No cash needed. We will advertise your business on our 8 over-the-air AM and FM stations and our digital platforms that distribute out news talk, sports, and classic hits in exchange for gift cards, tickets, or experiences that will be used for your business. This allows you to advertise across the entire Virginia Talk Radio network without any cash needed and to generate a large amount of new business. Last year, we started over 1.4 million digital streams on our online platforms. No Lynchburg-based group reaches more people. So VTRN and InsaneRadioDeals.com is the place where your business gets heard. Want to learn more? Call Melinda 434-534-6100 or email info@VirginiaTalkRadioNetwork.com. That is 434-534-6100 or info@VirginiaTalkRadioNetwork.com.
Looking for everything happening in and around Central Virginia that used to be in the morning paper? Start your day at the LynchburgPortal.com. Get the latest news updates from Bill Trevero, plus up-to-date weather from VTRN's own in-house meteorologist, Matt Ferguson. So you're always in the know before you head out the door. Want to listen on the go? Stream classic hits on Rewind 103.9. Get breaking local news on WIQO, or catch the best sports talk and play-by-play on VTRN Sports, powered by ESPN Radio, all right from the portal. Looking to save? Check out Insane Radio Deals for great local discounts, or explore local podcasts featuring the voices and stories that make our community special. Plus, connect with local businesses through the Lynchburg Business Alliance Directory and stay in the loop on the latest events from Lynchburg Tourism. It's all right here. Local news, weather, sports, deals, and more at the LynchburgPortal.com. Your gateway to everything Lynchburg.
Hi, I'm Zach Mackey, the voice of Virginia Tech men's basketball. Catch the Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle weekdays 5 to 6 p.m. on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM and the VTRN Sports app.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
So we will get to a number of things here in the Fast Lane in just a bit. Lake Lewis, we're aiming to connect with him. By the way, you could have done this earlier, but
Time to take a detour in the Fast Lane.
what a week it's been. You could argue that for me. You especially could argue that for Mr. TJ Wilkerson. He is nodding. It has been an adversity-filled week for him. I'm not shy about this. I think one of the biggest things that has been a detriment as a Christian is the concept of like the charismatic church or the charismatic pastor. And don't get me wrong, if you're in that pulpit, you do need to have a level of command and ability to inspire people and get them excited. But the idea of, convert to Christianity, and other religions might experience this as well. I'm not demeaning them. I can't speak for them because it's not mine. But the idea that, convert and all of your problems will go away. To quote Bill Lumberg from Office Space.
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
Because when this happens, you actually get more adversity. It tests you that much further. And to me, that's what's happening with TJ. That's what's happened with us. It's not fun and pleasant. I'm not sitting here masquerading the idea that it is. But that's the biggest disservice as somebody who's a Christian that happens with our religion is convert and everything will be better. There's long-term gain for sure. I'm not at all disputing that, no doubt. No, that's part of the value to it. I do think you become better equipped to handle it. You have a bigger peace with yourself in terms of that. But the idea of convert and it's going to get easier is the biggest sham out there in terms of how my belief on Christianity, how it's packaged itself. It's better. You understand how to handle adversity better, but it doesn't mean that all of your problems magically disappear. And then people actually give Christianity a try. And adversity hits. They weren't prepared for that reality, and then they get soured on it. And then we wonder why they're soured by it. Well, I don't know. It's like me in sales. If everybody's a skeezy salesperson out there and you see me as a salesperson, you're going to look skeptically on me. I have to work that much harder to overcome that perception. That is part of my job and challenge as somebody who sells. I am aware of that. Doesn't make it easier, but I'm aware of that. So maybe I'm more sensitive to these type of things than other people. And maybe it's also part of the reason why also I gravitate to sports. You do have teams that all of a sudden can get hot at the right time and perform well, but oftentimes success is much more something that pops up over a longer period of time. And it's slow process, laying the foundation. And then you're actually better equipped to handle the pitfalls that can come with success, but also adversity because you have a foundation upon which to rest. I don't know if I'm making sense. Somebody who has been down this road before and on his own journey, he's an outspoken Christian. You will notice that if you follow him at Lake Lewis Jr. on Twitter and Instagram. You also know him from the morning warm-up, Tuesday, 7 to 8 a.m. with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy, right here on the VTRN Sports app and Ask That Smart Speaker, Open VTRN Sports. Lake Lewis, pleased to be joining us here in the Fast Lane. Lake, great to be speaking with you. It has been a while since we've had you in the Fast Lane, and it's been an eternity since I've seen your lovely face and you've had the pain and agony of having to look in mine, for which I apologize.
How you doing, my friend? Good to see you, man. It has been a while.
It has. It's good to see you. I hear you every Tuesday morning.
Yeah, it's bright and early.
It is.
But Trey, you and Trey are my guys. So yeah, anytime I can help out or do anything, I'm there.
We're grateful for that. We appreciate it. Like, you're with the ESPN Radio in Richmond. You do stuff with ESPN. You're an NFL insider. You're a Commanders insider. We've been knowing you since way back in the day. I know I have for about a decade or so, and you've had a bunch of different stops along the journey for your media career. As you've navigated those, what role has your Christian faith played in you being able to weather those storms and also be prepared for the opportunities that you've been blessed to have received, particularly recently with a lot of successful opportunities to meet, connect with, and be exposed to different people?
It's played everything, and it is everything to me. It teaches you, my faith teaches me, patience. It teaches me perseverance, in the sense that, as you said, we've known each other for a while, and I've had, some different stops, some of the stops I didn't care for. So I left those stops. But now being in the situation where I am with ESPN and also the league itself, it's a blessing. And I understand that I am blessed, and I understand that I have a platform to, use positive words and not to tear down people. Unfortunately, I have a lot of people coming at me now. It seems like the more I've elevated in my career, the more hate I've received. And I understand that comes with the territory, but guess what? I look at it like as God telling me that this is my opportunity to help those people who come with hate, maybe, convert them and turn them over, somehow, some way. So, I would say that my faith has just definitely been, it's the backbone of who I am. It's the backbone of my house. My better half is the same way. And, we feel like we have a forum, to really just show people what love is, man, what positive, positive vibes are. And to me, that comes from my Christianity. So I don't run from that.
Lake Lewis is with us in the Fast Lane. We can ask about, hate, online things that pop up. It's inevitable. And I was pumping my fist for a reason that I'll get to in a moment. But I have one of these as well. I know how this world works when I'm pointing to my wedding ring. We will ask you about Miss Janine, who is the in-stadium host for the Washington Commanders on game days. You guys put a lot of hours in on the road. You put a lot of hours in at the stadium. Sometimes that involves late nights / early mornings. What role has your Christian faith been in navigating a lot of that, where, yes, there's the exhilaration of being around, but I can imagine you guys get worn out pretty quickly too.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine, it's almost to imagine life without her, because that's how close we are. That's my best friend, and she'll tell you the same. I'm her best friend. We do everything together. I mean, even if it's going to the grocery store, even I mean, going to bed. I mean, it's we do everything together, and it's like, when I travel, and I'm being honest here. This is, I'm an honest person, so this is what we're doing. When I'm on the road, I'm almost miserable at times, and I'll call her and tell her, and she's like, you'll be back in a couple days. It's the job, blah blah blah. That stuff plays a big part in what I do and who I am, and I don't hints from saying that my success has come, over the last 5 years of us being together. And I think that a lot of that is because we feel like we weren't maybe in our individual careers before, we weren't ready for what's come now, and wouldn't have understood how to embrace it and accept it. I'm her biggest fan, she's my biggest fan, and she's doing some great things here in Richmond as an anchor, and the in-game host for the team. And so our worlds are intertwined in every way possible, and we like it that way. I mean, it just works for us. I don't know if it works for others, but for us it works. And when we're apart from any, last week, this at this time I was in Pittsburgh, and I tried to talk to her as much as I could in between when I had breaks, and it's just to hear her voice, helps me settle in. It helps me also, she gives me pep talks too, so helps me know when to go knock a wall down too. So yeah, that's what works for us.
So I know she does some life coaching and mentorship stuff. Your better half, Janine Samuels, does with the Washington Commanders, their cheerleaders, their pep squad, if you will. She
Mhm.
gives them to you too. She's your life coach.
Oh man, I mean, she is without question my life coach, and that's why my life has changed. I always felt like I had a fortunate life. Bless my parents. They're no longer with us, and nor are hers. So that's another thing where we lean on each other a little bit more now, because we don't have the luxuries of having those conversations, those pep talks with our parents, because they're upstairs. So with that said, it's just it's amazing what you can do when your faith is there for you, when you could easily crumble, or you could easily say woe is me. We don't do that. That's just not our house. Our house is, run through the fire. That's our house, and it works for us. It's a positive outlook on everything, and I can honestly say that she's the catalyst for that. If you ever put your head down, not around her. That's not gonna work. So we always smile. You always smile. You always stay upbeat. You always know that there's another day. You always know that you're a vessel to help people. So that's just what we do.
So you are now with ESPN. Lake Lewis is with us in the fast lane. You know him from the
Mhm.
morning roll up. Commanders and NFL Insider with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy. Tuesday morning, 7 to 8 a.m. VTR and Sports App 93.3 FM. We know you from that role now. You mentioned, though, different spots along your journey. Your faith, how did that guide you and keep you grounded during those moments? Piggyback off what your better half and life coach Janine was able to do to motivate you, because you got a pretty nice setup right now, but it's not always been that way.
Yeah, so just to let you know, I mean, I've been blessed my whole life, and I don't deny any of that. Um, when I was even in college, I had the opportunity to become the student sports director at WPSU at Penn State University, and I end up, having to give up my dreams of basketball, because that's what I was playing, and I, played in high school, and I had to be realistic with myself. Are you good enough to play professional, even if it's overseas, even if it's like in a lower tier professional league? And I just knew that I had one day, I had an opportunity of something, someone presented something to me that I just felt like I needed to really think about. And I called my parents that night, and my mom was like, "There's nothing to think about. You should do that." My father was like, "Well, don't you want to continue to play ball?" Um, and I went with my mom's advice. And that's why I'm sitting here to this very day. And what that was someone gave me the opportunity to be the student sports director for WPSU and also the play-by-play voice for Penn State football as a student. And that was a no-brainer for me. And I did that, and it just opened up some other doors. So, my first big start was ironically at ESPN Radio, and I was a daily drive time host in Orlando, and I actually ended up doing my show from the ESPN club on Disney's Boardwalk. So I was doing it from inside Disney World, and it just opened up so many other doors. And it just seemed like as one thing happened, two to three other things, next step things would happen, and it just continues to be that way. 25 years later, 30 years later, it continues to do that for me. And that's because I try to keep, an open mind, an open heart, and understand that, you may see something one way and God is trying to get you to go another way. And so that's why I say you have to keep an open mind and an open heart, because going that other way is actually for the better. It's not for the worse, it's for the better. And that's the vision that I've always had, especially with my career. It's always been onward and upward, but at the same time, knowing that you have to be the person that you still are and always will be, to bring with you your faith and bring with you the positive encouragement of others and everything that comes with me. And I feel fortunate because, ESPN, and I can say the league now as well, has embraced me for that. And, I'm grateful for it. I'm appreciative of that. And, there's other layers to it. When you start talking about race and things like that, I don't see a lot of me in locker rooms unless they're the players, and, so I embrace that role as well, because I do want people, not just people that look like me, but obviously young gentlemen that look like me, to know that you too can make it, but you have to have a foundation to lean on, because there are going to be a lot of no's along the way. And for me, there was, for me, that's where my faith came into play, because I knew God wasn't taking me down a road that I shouldn't be going down. I knew that if God asked me to go down this road, it's going to be for the betterment. I just have to go down the road. I just have to trust and go down the road. And I have, and it's paid off. It's always has paid off.
You're hearing it from Lake Lewis. This is kind of our style with our Faith Fridays that we're doing here in the Fast Lane. We're not, condemning anybody. We're not trying to be haters of anybody. We're just talking about how faith has assisted us in our particular route and in our growth and what we can do here. And that's part of why we're discussing it with Lake Lewis today in the Fast Lane. And you mentioned it from your perspective. There's the fact that, you're a black, and being a black person in a locker room, there's a relatability component to a lot of athletes. How much of that is the relatability component? How much of it is your faith gives you an ability to be genuine and real? And I believe in the real, recognize real phrase. And there are a lot of people out there that just are not. And then people that are can kind of sniff through it and see it. And you fit the real, recognize real description pretty well. And I would imagine that has to have played a key role in what you've been able to do to grow in your career.
Yeah, it's still with me, from the standpoint that when I first started covering Washington, they were the Redskins, and this was back in 2009. Well, I mean, when I'm there every day, like now, and the players that I became really close with, really good friends with off the field, it almost shocked some other reporters, and it was brought to my attention, that some didn't like the fact that I had, I was fraternizing. That was the word. And I had to let some of them know. They didn't look like me, but I had to let some of them know there's different variables to relationships. And first and foremost, at the time, my daughter, who's now 19, college kid, and at the time she was in, grade school, like first grade, second grade. And ironically, several of the players, some of the older players, kids were in her class, went to school with her. They were in the same classrooms. And so they became friends. And they would want to do like, play dates. That's what kids do. They'd want to get together and go to the park, and one of the parents would have to be there, or two of the parents. Well, it just so it happened to be myself. And, they don't mind me saying it because we're good friends, but like Lorenzo Alexander and Chris Wilson and Kedrick Golston. I mean, our kids were friends, and they became good friends of mine. And then, Darrell Young and Niles Paul and these guys became like uncles to my daughter. Literally, she would call them Uncle Niles and Uncle Darrell and Uncle Lorenzo. And it grew. And, so those guys became more than they were more than football players from day one, obviously. But that cemented itself with me. And to this very day, we keep in contact. We talk a lot. When they're in town, they try to see me as much as possible. But yeah, these guys have had dinner at my house. These guys have, had their families come over. Anthony Armstrong is like my little brother. His wife used to babysit my daughter, and that's how they met, and now they have 4 kids, so I say these things because it's more than just football. It is. And these are all Christian guys, by the way. These are guys that do not hide from their faith. And these are guys that were going to Bible study after practice. And I say that because those are the people that I gravitated towards. Those are the people that gravitated towards me. And it was because we were men. We were men first that respected each other. We respected, the family vibe. We respected the fact that in the locker room, I wasn't trying to report on dirt. I wasn't trying to report on anything that didn't have anything to do with X's and O's on Sundays. And that's always been my style. I would hate for people to, follow my everyday life. I mean, I think you'd be okay with what you see, but the point is, I don't want anybody following my everyday life. That's and just so people understand the comment of, I think you'll be okay with what you see, because you do see a lot of my everyday life by default with Janine being on television every day. And we don't hide our relationship from anyone. We post pictures together. We post what we do together. We post when we're on trips. We post when we're at work. So with all that being said, those are the things that I think in the locker room have won me over, frankly, with a lot of players, because they do like the fact that, I do look like them, the majority of them. But secondly, I do have an athletic background, so they feel like they can trust me to not create nonsense. And then, thirdly is the element of, you see me, you see who I am because she's with me. She's always around me, and they see her too, on the field. So, all those elements are things that I can't run from, even if I wanted to, which I don't. There's nothing to run from. But if I ever wanted to be more secluded, I couldn't be at being a public person. So yes, I do think that, my faith has, it's easy to say this. We can always say our faith, our faith, our faith. But the way you treat people shows your faith, without you even needing to say anything. The way you treat people, the way you try to help people, the way when people are ugly towards you and you still keep coming and you're not ugly towards them, that's what my faith is, so that's who I am. And again, I don't walk around with a bullhorn and telling people that you got to do this if you want to get there. I don't do that. I think my actions show people, you know what? And I know for a fact that I have made some people who weren't really, religious, or, didn't walk around and practice faith, or didn't believe in anything. I've had some people tell me that I literally, me myself, just my approach with them made them want to be better and look at something else. So That's what I'm saying. You don't have to walk around and throw Bibles at people or yell at people or say you're going to go to hell if you don't do this. There's no need for that. And first of all, that's unchristian, if you ask me. I think the way you treat people shows your faith in God and shows why you have a faith.
I would agree with that. I go a step further. There are things that can happen that can send you to hell, but my beauty of my faith is God gets to make that final judgment on everybody, not me. So
Everyone.
I don't have to
Yep.
worry about that burden. I got enough burdens and problems in life.
You got to worry about yourself, right? You do
I
what you're
don't-
supposed to do.
No doubt. I don't have enough bandwidth to be making that decision on very many people. Although there may be times, you mentioned this a moment ago, like where you can look at how someone treats you on social media and go, I wonder about that. How do I, you might, based on their comments, the odds might go one way or the other on a sports book if you're just speculating, not judging, but hypothetically there. So how is your Christian faith then able you to navigate the fact that, especially with your increased success here recently, you've taken more barbs? And by the way, TJ and I were discussing, I don't know if you heard it when we popped on, but the more you become rooted in your faith and then success comes, the more barbs you're going to take, because that's the enemy taking more shots at you. So you've got to be prepared.
100%. And and once again, I got to give her credit, because just a couple of weeks ago, I went on a friend of mine, Rio Robinson, does a really good show, and went on his show, and his show's a little edgy. It's a little different. There's some words that are said that sometimes I tell him, don't say that, but that's his thing, and that's fine. But one of those shows, there was a person that was just made sure they went out of their way to come at me and end up popping up on my social media. And it was nothing but insults and just ugly stuff. And, I don't mind telling people I am from DC. I'm from the hood. And, sometimes it's hard to not revert sometimes. And when I say revert, I mean revert to the side of, you don't take anything off people. You don't take any nonsense. And I'm a very prideful man. And I've always said that, the things you can't attack that will keep me from staying inside of myself, you can't attack my family. If you attack my family, you attack my better half, there's a whole nother side of me. Well, ironically, it was Janine who walked me off the ledge after this incident, because I couldn't sleep for like 2 days. I really couldn't, because I wanted to get after that person. And she's like, that's not who we are. And God doesn't like ugly. He'll take care of that. You just do what you're supposed to do. And she told me this, and she said, you have to show grace. And I'm like, I don't want to show grace right now. And she's like, you have to show grace. She said, because God's putting you in these roles now and elevating you so that you can show what grace looks like to people who don't want it. And I was floored, honestly, when she said that. I honestly was floored, and didn't surprise me coming from her. She's a beautiful person. She really is. And, but when she said it, I had to really start to tell myself, you got to practice what you preach at the same time. You can't be one way this over here, and then over here, you're a whole different person. So you have to be consistent in your faith as well. So for me, she said the best thing for me to do now, she said, is just ignore that. She said, and you block people. She said, you don't want them on your page saying ugly things, just block them. They can no longer come onto your platforms. Because I literally told the gentleman that you can get help for that kind of anger. I did. I said, you can get help for that. And I'm sorry that your life isn't what you want it to be right now, but it can become that. I literally said that. And that kind of fired them up even more, I guess. So I realized I was dealing with a person that was, that was upset. And so Janine tells me all the time, hurt people like to hurt people. And she said, so, you just have to keep showing grace, and hopefully it'll win them over. It'll it'll let them understand that you're not that person, so maybe they can try that tactic somewhere else, but you're not that person. And that's what I did. And ever since then, I've had several more, that I've blocked. I had someone tell me just literally last week in Pittsburgh that I had terrible reporting. And he at first he said, Lake, you're an insider and you shouldn't give predictions. He said, because if you give predictions, he said you were wrong a couple times last year because you predicted the Commanders to go to the Super Bowl. So I told Janine, and then she got fired up, and then she's like, I can't believe you said that. And he was like, so you're going to lose all your credibility if you make these predictions and they don't come true. And she's like, why don't you write the person back? And I said, but you told me to leave people alone after that. And she said, well, you can write the person back and say predictions and factual reporting are two different things. And I said, look, no matter what you do, you're not going to win those people over. They're just looking for something to complain about. And yes, I did predict the Commanders to go to the Super Bowl after they went to the NFC Championship game, and I thought they were going to be able to run it back. Did I know injuries were going to happen? Did I know holdouts were going to happen? Did I just, a lot of different variables happen for that. And that's not an excuse. I stand on my prediction after that. Well, this gentleman, after writing that, I didn't respond. He deleted that post and an hour later posted that I was a horrible reporter and I had horrible reporting because I got the wrong receiver for another wrong prediction, because he said you predicted Washington was going to take a receiver in the 3rd round and you got the receiver wrong. Washington did take a receiver in the 3rd round and just took a different one. So I'm just like, you can't win with everyone, and I'm not trying to win with everyone. I can only be me. That's all I can be. So anyone that has the hate, any people out there that just feel like social media is your platform to be the bully that you've always wanted to be, that's not good. And I do think that sometimes there's some self-assessing that needs to go on if all you do is spew venom at, our fellow man. That's just not worth it.
Lake Lewis with so much perspective. You hear the football version of that on the morning warm-up Tuesdays, 7 to 8 a.m. with Trey and Ty right here on VTRN Sports App and 93.3 FM. Lake, we really appreciate your time. We could go on for a while, but I know you've got commitments at the top of the hour. We appreciate you at least giving us some of your time, and in the immortal words of a slogan that got someone reelected mayor, no joke on this, shake the haters off.
Of course. And I say this all the time. People tell me you shouldn't say it, but I say it all the time, and ESPN's okay with me saying it. It's good seeing you, and God bless.
My man, Lake Lewis, a way to wrap up our Faith Fridays. Chat with him today in the Fast Lane. When we return, wrapping up the Fast Lane, a very quick chat, quick update on Virginia lacrosse against Notre Dame in the ACC tournament. So we'll get to that when we return here in the Fast Lane, VTRN Sports App and 93.3 FM.
Mark Dalton here with Terry Volkswagen. Get ready to fall head over heels for the perfect VW SUV. One size doesn't fit all, though, and that's why Volkswagen has an SUV for everyone. From the compact and affordable Volkswagen Taos to the tech-packed Tiguan and the spacious Volkswagen Atlas. No matter which one fits your lifestyle, you'll love the comfort, performance, and safety. Stop by Terry Volkswagen on Forest Road in Lynchburg or check us out online at terrybw.com. Terry Volkswagen. You'll love our cars.
What if counseling services were just a click away? With secure, confidential telehealth sessions through Central Virginia Counseling, you can connect from wherever you feel most comfortable, anywhere in Virginia. No commute, no waiting rooms, just personalized care designed to meet you where you are. Support is closer than you think. Start your journey today on your terms. Visit centralvirginiacounseling.com to get started.
Springtime is AC tune-up time, and all it takes is one call to Terrell E. Mosley to get your system ready to roll. And their tune-ups come with a guarantee that if you have a breakdown, they'll credit the entire cost of the tune-up toward the cost of the repair. Save energy and prevent breakdowns. All it takes is one call to the comfort people at Terrell E. Mosley, Lynchburg's oldest and trusted HVAC contractor for 90 years. Visit TerrellEMosley.com.
Hi, Gary the Third here, and I'm excited to say spring has arrived at Gary's Garden Center with great plants and a great selection. Gary's has seasonal color flowers along with vegetables, 60-plus varieties of herbs, perennial flowers, and much more. With friendly service and great advice, we are always happy to answer your questions. Visit Gary's Garden Center at 794 Leesville Road for all your lawn and garden needs. Stop by, say hi, and take a look around.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
We had Kyle Alexander, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Lynchburg leader and former coach and athletic director. He was a couple of weeks ago. Then it was Lake Lewis today in our Faith Fridays chat. Last week it was Candy Waller on a shorter edition, just discussing her faith, getting her through the NFL draft process. So we're adding it. It is not meant to be in your face, and I don't mean that to sound bad. We're not. We are not ashamed, TJ and I, of our Christian faith. We both are practicing Christians, but the way in which we present it is something. There you go. You heard that. But we're not ashamed of it, and that's part of what we bring up. And I think we're probably different in the sense that we're transparent about just we have struggles in life. We have good points. Don't get me wrong. We're blessed to be able to talk sports and watch sports for a living, but we're also humans who struggle a little bit, and people hear us fighting through our struggles, fighting the good fight. Hopefully it inspires them to be the best version of themselves, however possible. Couple nuggets, by the way. We'll do a Fast Five at 5-ish later in the Fast Lane. Yesterday in the Fast Lane, Usher moment. I really was praising Game 6 and Game 7 in the NBA and the NHL playoffs. 6 of the 8 series in each league made it to a Game 6 or 7. Some of the Game 6s really delivered, even if they were clinchers. Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins. Penguins were the better team for a lot of that game, but the Flyers came up with the one goal when it mattered most, deep into the first overtime. Thrilling game. Obviously, a touch of bias as a Philly fan, but still, that was a really compelling series. Last night in the NBA was whatever the opposite of that would be. The Atlanta Hawks getting boat raced by the Knicks. I mean, 50-point game at halftime?
That was that
at halftime?
Pitiful.
I mean, talk about a no-show. Oh, agonizing to watch.
And that series itself has been so good the entire time. For it to just fall flat like that.
Oh, it's so disappointing, TJ, because it was such a compelling series. And then it just cratered down the stretch. I mean, some of them have just been that abysmal. Meanwhile, Game 6 NBA playoffs tonight, interwoven with Virginia Tech baseball. They are at Cal. And then tomorrow we'll have, after Virginia Tech at Cal in baseball, we'll have Game 7 Philadelphia at Boston in the NBA playoffs. By the way, Virginia men's lacrosse, 5-4 lead on Notre Dame. That game is in the latter stages of the first half as Virginia is a 6-4 lead. By the way, they just took it 6 minutes to go before halftime in that one. We'll recap that. We'll look ahead. Virginia wins today. I'd imagine they really are solidifying their NCAA tournament berth status. Already in a good spot. More on that Monday in the Fast Lane. Thanks for listening to the Fast Lane on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227BG Timberlake, and 1320 AM, WVGM Lynchburg.
This is SportsCenter.